A family of 4 sits in a suburban kitchen at 5:42 p.m. on a blistering Tuesday in July. The air conditioning is humming, the kids are melting down, and the parents are staring into a refrigerator that is technically full but holds absolute nothing, that can be converted into dinner in under 30 minutes. This is the exact moment a silent economic trap springs shut. It doesn't look like a financial crisis. It looks like a thumb tapping a smartphone screen. A few swipes on a delivery app, a $30 order of pad thai, a $25 pizza for the kids, plus service fees, driver tips, and surge pricing. Total damage, $74.12. This single, exhausted decision just wiped out the entire financial benefit of the coupons they clipped over the weekend. And the most terrifying part of this reality? It will happen again on Thursday. We are taught to believe that inflation and corporate greed are the primary monsters eating away at our disposable income. We watch the consumer price index like weather reports, panicking over a percentage point increase here or there. But for the average household trying to navigate the volatile summer months, the real drain isn't the macroeconomy. It is the friction of daily life. It is the micro losses. The $5 at a drive-thru because breakfast wasn't planned. The $40 on an emergency grocery run for a single forgotten ingredient that miraculously turned into a cart full of impulse buys. The $20 afternoon snack panic. Across a 90-day summer, these minor structural failures don't just add up. They compound into a massive hidden tax that strips anywhere from $600 to over $1,000 directly out of a family's bank account. By the time August rolls around, millions of people look at their bank statements in absolute disbelief, genuinely wondering where the money went, blaming the utility bill or the price of gasoline, completely blind to the fact that their kitchen quietly bled them dry, one $10 bills at a time. This isn't a problem you can solve with lifestyle austerity or obsessive coupon clipping. Those methods fail because they require a constant, exhausting expenditure of willpower at the exact moments when your energy is at its lowest. The solution is structural. It requires understanding that your kitchen isn't just a place where food is stored. It is an economic ecosystem that either runs on a predictable system or defaults to maximum chaos. There is a narrow, critical window before the heavy heat of summer truly locks in when the entire trajectory of your seasonal spending is decided. It comes down to a hyper-specific list of 12 foundational grocery items. Most of these items cost less than $10. None of them are luxury goods or complex health foods. But if these 12 items are not physically sitting on your pantry shelves before the calendar turns, you are effectively consenting to a summer-long series of financial emergencies. These products do not exist to help you cook gourmet meals. They exist to act as financial firewalls. They are the strategic barriers placed between your exhausted brain and the financial ruin of convenience culture. Most households will completely ignore this strategy. They will continue to shop week to week, reacting to hunger rather than engineering against it. But the few who understand the mechanics of this kitchen defense system will look back in September and realize they saved hundreds of dollars without sacrificing a single ounce of comfort. The game begins in the afternoon, at the most financially dangerous hour of the day. To understand how the modern kitchen became a financial liability, it is necessary to look at the structural changes in global food logistics and retail engineering over the past 2 decades. The contemporary supermarket is not designed for consumer efficiency. It is built on a framework of algorithmic placement intended to maximize the average transaction value per basket. According to data from the Food Industry Association, the average grocery store now carries over 30,000 distinct items, a 4-fold increase since the late 20th century. This expansion coincides with an unprecedented rise in the consumption of ultra-processed convenience foods, which currently account for over 60% of the average American caloric intake. The economic consequence of this shift is profound. Households have transitioned from purchasing raw, stable commodities to buying highly perishable, value-added products that carry a massive premium for manufacturing and packaging. This structural vulnerability becomes acute during the summer months due to specific demographic and meteorological factors. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that household expenditures on food away from home rise by an average of 18 to 22% between June and August. The cause is logistical. When schools close for the summer break, the standard daily routine of the household collapses. The predictable schedule of school lunches and structured evening activities is replaced by fluid, unpredictable timelines. This shift drastically increases what economists call the friction cost of meal preparation. A study by the National Institutes of Health tracking household behavioral patterns found that physical fatigue peaks earlier during high-temperature months, directly correlating with a 60% drop in the likelihood of cooking a raw meal from scratch in the evening. When physical fatigue intersects with an empty pantry, the consumer defaults to the path of least resistance, the digital delivery network. Over the last 10 years, the proliferation of third-party delivery platforms has altered the microeconomics of the household. What was once an occasional luxury has become an infrastructure reliance. However, the true cost of these platforms is systematically obscured from the consumer. A financial analysis of leading delivery applications reveals that the combination of menu price inflation, where restaurants mark up app items by 15 to 25% to cover platform commissions, coupled with delivery fees, service fees, and driver tips, creates a final transaction cost that is, on average, 91% higher than the cost of the raw ingredients if prepared at home. The defense against this systemic drain rests on the presence of specific, shelf-stable barrier items. Consider item number 12, peanut butter. In the hierarchy of nutritional economics, peanut butter represents one of the highest returns on investment available in the dry grocery aisle. A standard 16-ounce jar provides approximately 2,800 calories, 112 grams of protein, and 224 grams of dense, stabilizing fat for a retail price that fluctuates between $2 and $5. The industrial processing of peanut butter involves roasting and grinding peanuts into a paste where the natural oils act as a preservation barrier, preventing spoilage without the need for refrigeration. The economic utility of peanut butter is realized during the 5 o'clock afternoon window, a period identified by consumer behavior analysts as the primary catalyst for impulse food spending. During this hour, blood glucose levels drop in both children and adults, triggering a biological urgency for immediate caloric intake. If the kitchen requires active preparation time, the consumer frequently bypasses the raw food in the refrigerator and executes a high-cost convenience purchase. Preempting this window with 2 tablespoons of peanut butter costs approximately 22 cents, yet it provides immediate satiety that sustains the household until a low cost. Planned dinner can be executed. A similar strategic principle applies to item number 11 and item number 10, canned chicken and canned tuna. The commercial canning process, patented in the early 19th century and refined through modern thermal processing, renders these proteins completely shelf-stable for a period of 2 to 5 years. The meat is sealed in an airtight container and heated under pressure to destroy all spoilage microorganisms. This creates a food source that is entirely immune to the primary point of failure in the modern kitchen. The thawing cycle. Internal industry reports from major grocery chains indicate that up to 14% of fresh meat purchased by consumers is discarded due to spoilage caused by improper planning or unexpected schedule changes. When a consumer forgets to defrost fresh meat, the immediate economic result is a stranded asset in the freezer and a net new expenditure on takeout. A $5 can of chicken or a $2 can of tuna completely eliminates this failure point. It provides 20 to 25 grams of complete protein per serving with 0 preparation time, acting as a direct substitute for a $30 delivery order when the primary cooking plan fails. The reliance on stable commodities continues with item number 9, oatmeal. The morning routine represents a separate, distinct drain on summer liquidity. The rise of drive-through breakfast culture is directly linked to the convenience premium. A single morning stop for coffee and a breakfast sandwich averages $9.45 per person. Across a 12-week summer, this pattern creates a $500 deficit per individual. Oatmeal, specifically rolled or steel-cut oats, addresses this pattern through its chemical structure. Oats contain high concentrations of beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that forms a gel-like substance in the digestive tract. This slows gastric emptying and delays the release of ghrelin, the hormone responsible for triggering hunger signals. A standard 3-pound container of oats costs less than $6 and yields approximately 30 servings, reducing the baseline cost of breakfast to 20 cents per meal. By utilizing the overnight soaking method, where oats are hydrated in liquid cold within the refrigerator, the preparation time is reduced to 0, neutralizing the morning convenience trap before the consumer leaves the house. The historical error of the modern consumer has been treating these staple items as emergency rations rather than active economic shields. The stabilization of a household budget during high inflation periods requires an analytical shift from macro trends to micro efficiencies in the pantry ecosystem. Retail sales tracking data from the early part of this decade demonstrates a clear divergence between consumer wages and basic food processing costs. While raw commodity indexes often fluctuate, the retail price of packaged consumer-ready goods has sustained a rigid upward trajectory. This economic reality brings us to the core structural elements of kitchen defense, starting with item number 8, dry pasta. A package of dry pasta represents a highly efficient vehicle for caloric conversion and ingredient consolidation. Industrially manufactured from durum wheat semolina, dry pasta possesses a moisture content below 12%, rendering it completely hostile to bacterial growth and allowing storage for up to 2 years without degradation. The primary financial value of pasta is not found in its standalone nutritional profile, but in its capacity to prevent food waste. According to data from the Environmental Protection Agency, the average American household discards approximately 25% of the food it purchases, with fresh produce and leftover proteins accounting for the vast majority of this waste. This discarded food represents thousands of dollars in lost liquidity annually. Pasta functions as a culinary catalyst. It provides a structural matrix that allows scattered near-expiration ingredients such as partial segments of cooked meat, wilting vegetables, or open containers of dairy to be combined into a cohesive, high-density meal. A single $2 package of pasta can effectively reclaim $15 worth of fragmented inventory that would otherwise be thrown away. Directly averting a net new expenditure on external meals, this consolidation strategy is reinforced by item number 7 and item number 6, canned beans and bulk rice. The combination of these two specific commodities forms what nutritionists call a complementary protein structure, supplying all 9 essential amino acids required for human biology. From a budgetary perspective, the economics are unparalleled. A study by the Department of Agriculture mapping price per calorie metrics across major food categories confirmed that dry rice and canned beans deliver the lowest cost per gram of plant protein available in the modern marketplace. A 20-pound bulk bag of long-grain white rice provides over 32,000 calories for a capital outlay that rarely exceeds $25 when consumers face sudden budgetary constraints due to seasonal utility spikes or unpredicted expenses. Their historical response has been a dangerous reduction in nutritional quality, shifting toward cheap, high-sodium, ultra-processed snacks. Substituting these snacks with a rice and bean foundation preserves physical satiety and macromineral intake, specifically magnesium, potassium, and folate, at a baseline cost of less than 40 cents per serving. The logistical advantage of canned beans over dry varieties is time utility. While dry beans require a 12-hour hydration cycle and extensive boiling, canned variants undergo industrial autoclaving directly inside the steel container, arriving pre-cooked and stable. This eliminates the preparation barrier that frequently causes tired consumers to abandon home cooking in favor of commercial options. The utility of these dry staples is entirely dependent on palatability, which introduces item number 5, canned tomatoes. The mechanical reality of pantry reliance is that human beings will not consistently consume repetitive, bland ingredients purely out of financial discipline. Eventually, a psychological rejection occurs, leading to an impulse delivery order. Canned tomatoes solve this vulnerability through high concentrations of naturally occurring glutamic acids, which stimulate the umami receptors on the human palate. The thermal processing of tomatoes breaks down their cell walls, releasing lycopene and intensifying their foundational flavor profile. A single $2 can of crushed or diced tomatoes provides the liquid base, acidity, and savory depth necessary to transform raw rice, beans, pasta, and canned proteins into distinct, highly appetizing dishes such as stews, curries, and sauces. By maintaining a diverse assortment of tomato formats, a household can simulate variety across an identical base of shelf-stable carbohydrates, maintaining consumer adherence to the budget plan. However, the physical execution of any cooking process requires a thermal medium, which brings us to item number 4, cooking oil. The presence of a high smoke point oil, such as canola, vegetable or refined sunflower oil, is a strict operational requirement for a functional kitchen. Chemically, cooking oil facilitates heat transfer from the pan to the food surface, preventing adhesion and driving the Maillard reaction that creates essential flavor compounds. A common failure mode in modern household management is the exhaustion of basic cooking fats. When a bottle of oil runs dry, the entire preparation infrastructure of the kitchen stalls. Meat cannot be seared, vegetables cannot be roasted, and base ingredients cannot be sautéed. The immediate consequence of this single inventory vacancy is almost always the cancellation of the intended meal and a subsequent emergency trip to the grocery store or an order via a delivery app. A standard bottle of cooking oil costs between $4 and $15, yet its presence safeguards hundreds of dollars worth of raw grocery inventory by ensuring that cooking remains physically viable at any given moment. Finally, we must address the primary driver of routine morning liquidity loss. Item number 3, coffee. The global coffee market has faced intense supply contraction over the past several harvest cycles. The International Coffee Organization has documented consecutive production deficits in Brazil and Vietnam, the dominant global exporters of Arabica and Robusta beans, respectively. Extreme meteorological volatility, including prolonged drought followed by unseasonal frost, has significantly reduced global stockpiles, driving commodity futures prices to multi-year highs. This macro crisis manifests at the retail level as a steady escalation in coffee prices. For the consumer, failing to secure a stable supply of coffee at home creates an immediate behavioral vulnerability. The physiological demand for caffeine drives a compulsory morning routine that frequently involves commercial cafes, where a single beverage carries a retail markup exceeding 300% relative to home brewing. By proactively purchasing whole beans or vacuum-sealed ground coffee prior to seasonal price hikes, a household insulates itself from both external market volatility and the daily compounding drain of the drive-through lane. The return on investment is immediate. A 16-ounce bag of home-brewed coffee can yield up to 40 cups of coffee, neutralizing a $400 commercial expenditure for an upfront cost of less than $15. The strategic kitchen operates not on preference, but on the systematic mitigation of these precise daily microtransactions.